Let's go to page 276, and let's start with number 1. Okay, you have square root of negative 16. So right away, you're going to separate the negative from the positive. So what you want to do is you do this right away. Okay, and so the square root of 16 is 4, and square root of negative 1 is I, and so that's it. So you can right away, you have to move the negative out of there, make into I. Okay, number 3. We have 2 square root of negative 25. Okay, so you can make into square root of 25 square root of negative 1. So this becomes 2 times 5 times I. So answer will be 10I. Okay. Okay, number 5. Okay, you have negative square root of negative 9. So you're going to have a negative square root of 9 square root of negative 1. Right, I can take the negative out. And then from here, you're going to get negative 3I. Okay, let's go to number 7. We got square root of negative 300. So I will break into 300 and square root of negative 1. So 300, you go up to the side. Okay. So actually, this one is easier if you do this way. Okay, do this way. Break it into small bits and parts. So this will be 10 square root of 3I. Okay, and always put the I in the back. Okay, in the book they put I in the front, but you want to always put I in the back. Okay, number 9. You have 2I to square. Okay, so 2 square is 4. I square is negative 1, so it will be negative 4. Okay, so again, 2 square is 4. I square is negative 1. Okay, number 11. You have negative 4I square. So again, you have to square each part. So negative square is positive. 4 to the square is 16. I square is negative. Okay, so answer will be negative 16. Okay, let's go to number 13. Here you have 5I times 3I. So 5 times 3 is 15. I times I is negative 1. So answer will be negative 15. Okay, number 15. You have I square root of 2 times I square root of 8. Okay, so over here, 2 square root of 2 times, so this will give you square root of 16, which will give you 4. I times I is negative 1, so the answer will be negative 4. Okay, so again, you times by the same kind of numbers, so radicand times radicand. Okay, okay, 17. Yeah, negative 3 over I. Now, negative can go on the top, the middle, or the bottom. I always like to put on the top. Okay, now in the book they recommend times by I, but I like to multiply by I to the 3. Okay, the reason is that way I don't want to mix with the negative down here on the bottom. So I times I3 is I to the 4, which is equal to 1. So bottom will be equal to 1. Okay. Okay, so now this is going to give you a negative I. So this becomes negative 3 times negative I over 1. Right? I times I3 is 1. Okay, and therefore this will be equal to 3I. Okay, let's go to 19. Okay, you got 20 over negative square root of 20 over square root of negative 5. Okay, so you can separate the two parts. So you're going to get 20 over square root of 5I. Okay, to get rid of the square root of 5, I need to multiply by square root of 5, square root of 5. Okay, to get rid of the I, I'm going to multiply by I to the 3. Again, you can multiply by I, but I like to do it with the I to the 3. Okay, so that way when I multiply, this will give me 5, and this, so this 2 will give me a 5, this 2 will give me a 1. Right? I times I3 is I to the 4, I to the 4 is equal to 1. Now on the top, this will be 20 square root of 5, and this will give me a negative I, so I'm going to put negative I over here. So again, I to the 3 is negative I. So this is this, and this is that. So they can cancel out the 5. So answer would be negative 4 square root of 5i. Okay, let's go to 21. Okay, so you got I to the n, and n equal to 1, equal to 2, 3, 4, all the way to 12. And he said, do you see the pattern to the answer? Okay, well, let's start with 0. So I to the 0 equal to 1. Now anything to the 0 power is 1. I to the 1 is I. I squared is negative 1. I to the 3 is, so I to the 3, you can just times these two together, right? So this is, I to the 3 is I to the 1 times 2. So times this together, give you negative I. Okay, now I to the 4, okay, I to the 4 is this times by itself, okay? So negative 1 times negative 1 will give you 1. And so you can see that the pattern is this over here. So I to the 5 is these two together. Okay, so when you times these two, give you I. I to the 6 is these two together, so it'll be negative 1. I to the 7 is times these two together, will be negative I. I to the 8 is I times 4 times I to the 4, so it'll be 1 times 1, give you 1. Okay, so I to the 9. I to the 9 would be this times this 2. Okay, so use I8 times I1, right? So times by that. Okay, or you can times you can even do this too. Here you go, right? So 4 and 5 is 9, right? So times these 2 give you I, right? Okay, I to the 10 equal to this 2 times together, so it'd be negative 1. I to the 11 is 4 times I7, so it give you negative I. And I to the 12 would be 4 times I to the 4 times I to the 8, right? So it give you 1. So you can see the pattern, it goes in a cycle of 4. Okay? So what you do is, whenever you have the exponent, you just go down by 4, keep going down by 4 until you reach the first cycle, and that's it. Okay? Okay, so again, here's the pattern. Okay? Okay, let's go to number 22. Okay, do A. You have I to the 20 power. So if you go down by 4, so this would be equal to, so again you go down by 4, right? Because this is a cycle of 4. So you can go down by multiple 4. So you go down by 4, 4, 4, 4. This becomes I to the 0. Okay? And anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, let's go to 22b. You have I to the 21. Okay? So this will equal to I to the 1, and I to the 1 is just I, right? Okay, 22c is I to the 100, I to the 100. Again, if you go by cycle of 4, what you do is you use 100 divided by 4, right? You have to go by 4, so you can go by so you can go back 25 times, and you get a remainder of 0. So remainder is what's left over, so this will equal to I to the 0, and this will equal to 1. Okay? Okay, 22d, you have I to the 150 power, so you can use 150. You want to see how many times you can go back by 4. You keep going back by 4, so you want to see how many times you can go by. So 20, 30. So you can go backward 37 times. You can go back, a cycle of 4, and you're going to have 2 left over. So this is equal to I to the 2, and I to the 2 equal to negative 1. Okay. Okay, let's go to number 23. A. The square root of negative 16 plus square root of negative 4. So again, negative is going to be I. So this is going to be 4I plus 2I. So this is equal to 6I. 23b. you have square root of negative 16 times square root of negative 4. So again, you got to take care of the I first. Don't multiply out the number, okay? So this will be a 4i times 2i. So this will give you, so 4 times 2 is 8. I times I is negative 1. Okay, so again, they are very different. So make sure you know the difference between additions and multiplication. Okay, let's go to 25a. Get square root of negative 2 plus square root of negative 25, square root of 50, negative 50. Okay, so you can simplify this. So this would be square root of 2i. I can take out the negative, make into I. Plus, now square root of 50 is going to be 5 square root of 2. Negative give you the I. Again, square root of negative is I. Now you can add this together, so it will be 6 square root of 2i. Okay, go to 25b. You have the square root of negative 2 times square root of negative 50. So you can take out the I first. So it will be square root of 2i times by 5 square root of 2i. Okay, so integer 5 times 1 is 5. Radicand square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. I times I is negative 1. And so this will give you negative 10. So you can do step by step. Okay, let's go to 27. 27a. You have an I square root of 18 plus square root of negative 8. Okay, I kind of don't really like to put I in the front, but anyway, so you simplify that. This would be 3 square root of 2i plus this would be 2 square root of 2i. Okay, so again, you can go up to the side to simplify. Right? You should know how to simplify your square root by now. So now you can add, so it would be 5 square root of 2i. Okay, 27b. Again, it's a multiplication. You got I square root of 18 cancelled by square root of negative 8. So you can take care of the I first. I'm going to simplify this a little bit. So this would be 3 square root of 2i times by 2 square root of 2i. Right? Again, negative is your I. Now let's go and multiply. When you multiply, you only can multiply same kind of numbers. So integer times integer will give you 6. Radicand times radicand will give you 2. I times I will give you negative 1. And so this will give you negative 12. Okay, let's go to 29. You have x squared plus 121 equal to 0. So now you can go ahead and minus 21 on both sides. So you got x squared equal to negative 121. Then you can take the square root. When you take the square root, you have to have a plus or minus in the front. So x will equal to plus or minus. 121 is 11. Negative is I. And so x equal to plus or minus 11i. Okay, let's go to 31. You got 2x squared equal to negative 12. So to take the square root, you need to get rid of the 2 first. So divide by 2. So you got x squared equal to negative 6. So take the square root. So x will equal to plus or minus square root of negative 6. And so x will equal to plus or minus square root of 6i. Again, always put I in the back because later on you have to put in the a plus bi form. So get into a habit of put I in the back. Okay, let's go to 33. Got 4x squared plus 1 equal to 0. Minus 1 on both sides. So you got 4x squared equal to negative 1. Divide by 4, divide by 4. So x squared equal to negative 1 over 4. Take the square root. So you're going to get x equal to plus or minus square root of negative 1 square root of 4. Okay, you can take the square root on every part. And this is going to be an I, and this is going to be a 2. So x will equal to plus or minus 1/2 I. Okay, so again, square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2, square root of negative is I. And that's it.